Good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
First impressions from the first and maybe only Harris versus Trump presidential face-off. Plus,
I think everybody was shocked. Everybody.
as a youth cheer coach faces charges he sexually abused children. Then, why the owner of a beloved Portland taqueria is closing up shop after decades in business.
For the most part, the public loves us, and that's a nice feeling. That maybe is my legacy.
And later, where the Ducks and the Beavers are finding motivation as their historic rivalry game enters a new era.
This is a fun game for the state of Oregon. It's certainly a fun game for our players.
And which I know will be just a great environment and a true home field advantage.
A very good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm David Molko. Moments ago, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump squared off in Philadelphia in their first and potentially only debate, one that was arguably nearly as much about who they are and what they represent than their plans for the next 4 years. It was their first ever in-person meeting, with the vice president choosing to cross the stage to shake the former president's hand. There was no audience in the hall, just the ABC News moderators asking questions and in some spots fact-checking the candidates. And right out of the gate, the topic was the American economy.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people.
In response, Trump touted his record both before and during the pandemic.
Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in.
Well, also on the table, abortion, immigration, January 6th, race and policy when it comes to Israel and the war in Gaza, though at times the debate turned intensely personal. Here's how Harris addressed Trump's false claims that the 2020 election was stolen.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that.
Well, meanwhile, Trump responded by trying to drive a wedge between President Biden and his vice president.
She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her.
All right, that is just a quick overview. We'll have much more tonight on KGW News at 11, including a Verify fact-checking some of the biggest claims from this presidential debate. Meanwhile, the candidates for Washington governor are facing off right now. That debate hosted by our Seattle sister station, King 5. It's just getting underway between Attorney General and Democrat Bob Ferguson and Republican and former Congressman Dave Reichert. You can check it out live on KGW.com or on our streaming app, that is KGW+. We'll also have a recap tonight on KGW News at 11. We want to get to some breaking news now in Northeast Portland, where police say a person is dead after a shooting this evening in the Lloyd district. This was reported around 5:30 near Northeast Grand and 6th. Police say the shooter had taken off by the time they arrived. No word on any suspect or suspects. Developing this evening, a youth cheer coach in St. Helens has been arrested and charged with multiple counts of sexual abuse of minors, and police say they believe there could be more victims. Blair Best has the latest.
This has really come as a shock to the St. Helens community. We're told that this gym, Vault Elite, is one of the few places local kids spend a lot of time. Classes are still running as the investigation that's rattled this community continues. This is 27-year-old Anthony Trenkler. He's in jail facing multiple charges of sexual abuse. St. Helens police arrested him Friday, September 6th, after a 3-week investigation. Trenkler was a 15-year coach at Vault Elite Cheer, a staple in the St. Helens community.
Well, we were devastated.
Ashley Wynn's daughter owns the gym, where Trenkler taught children between the ages of 3 and 17.
It's stressful.
He was the only male out of the 3 coaches on staff. He has since been fired.
It came out of left field. It really did. Because he was so loved. You know, we trusted him. We've had him in our home. And it seems out of character, but we don't know.
Court documents allege Trenkler sexually abused 3 girls, all under the age of 14. It's unclear where each of the alleged incidents happened, but Wynn believes some of the abuse took place in a storage loft above the gym floor.
My grandkids, you know, they were exposed to him too. In the cheer world, it's very hands-on, you know, so this would be a culture where it could happen, you know. Our coaches are hands-on, and so if someone had ill intent, they could do it.
That's not to say the gym doesn't try to prevent it.
When they do a background check, this is what we get back. Actually, today we're putting up more cameras. I think we got 8 more.
Trenkler pleaded not guilty in court Monday and, per the judge, is not allowed around minors.
You know, we want the focus to be on finding out the truth and having all the victims, if there are more, come forward. That's our focus.
The St. Helens police are concerned there could be more victims, so anyone with information is encouraged to give them a call. As for Trenkler, he's due back in court later this month. In St. Helens, Blair Best, KGW News.
In your headlines, the man accused of kidnapping and killing his neighbor, a newlywed Beaverton nurse, appeared in person in court today for the first time. 27-year-old Bryce Schubert is charged with the murder of 32-year-old Melissa Jubain. Today's hearing was quick. A judge was appointed in the case. Schubert is charged with murder, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. He is due back in court on Monday. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is asking for help finding a missing teenager. This is 15-year-old Bailey Jade Lukes of Fairview. She was last seen June 14th near Southeast Powell and 122nd. She has brown eyes, and at the time, Jade's hair was dyed purple. Her family believes it may now be blue. Authorities say Jade is a frequent TriMet rider. Anyone who's seen her is asked to call 911. Well, meanwhile, the Sheriff's Office has launched a new website dedicated to helping solve cold cases, specifically homicides. Detectives say they started with 3 cases from the early 90s and are hoping that something will jog someone's memory.
Part of our selection process, we have to consider the integrity of the cases. And we felt that these were cases that were primarily only going to be solved if we got new information from the public to move them along.
You can check out the cases at the address on your screen. It is mcso.us/cold case investigations. There's also a form where you can submit tips. And we're keeping an eye on wildfires that continue to threaten communities in central and eastern Oregon. This is a time lapse from the University of Oregon's Hazards Lab of the Bachelor Complex fire. Now, much of the resort community of Sun River is now under a level 2. That's a beset advisory. The yellow areas you see on the screen here. Level 3 go now orders remain in place from just west of Sun River all the way to Mount Bachelor. By the way, in Graham County, the Rail Ridge Fire has now grown to more than 150,000 acres. It continues to threaten the town of Dayville. Areas south of Highway 26, including much of the town and school, remain under level 3 orders. Officials say the fire is now within 1.5 miles of town, though they add weather conditions are improving and containment lines are holding. Matt?
Well, here's some good news for all the fires burning around the Northwest. We've got rain rolling in. It's already reached into western Washington, just now reaching onto the Oregon coast. It'll be in Portland later on tonight. I'd say between 10 o'clock and midnight, somewhere in that time frame. And it won't just be Portland. Really, much of the state will get a good soaking rain from this. We're sitting at 71 degrees right now with a cloudy sky here in town, so it is a warm night with the cloud cover. And it'll stay dry. The models want to keep it dry now. It's just a recent update until the early morning hours. But look how it ramps up to nearly 1/2 inch by 6 a.m. So we are going to get a soaking rain. I would plan on a very rainy morning commute. Wednesday morning commute is going to be wet. So rain later tonight. Rainy Wednesday. There is also a chance of a thunderstorm. We'll dig into that. End of the week, we'll get some drying, but there's more rain coming later in the long-range forecast. We'll touch on that too, David.
Well, it's early September, so we certainly could use it. Thank you, Matt. Oregon's Attorney General has now joined a long list of AGs across the country who want Congress to mandate warning labels on social media sites. Devin Haskins looks into why some are skeptical.
This is the defining public health challenge of our time.
It was just under 3 months ago, U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy calling social media a factor in the growing mental health crisis in teens.
When adolescents spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, we're seeing an association with a doubling of risk of anxiety and depression symptoms.
The U.S. Surgeon General wanting Congress to take action and put a warning label on social media sites. A similar type of warning like you'd see on a carton of cigarettes.
A warning label would help parents to understand these risks. Many parents don't know that those risks exist.
But will it work?
One label is not going to solve the issue.
Kristen Culpepper is a parent of 2 kids, not yet on social media.
More information is always better than less, but really it's up to the adult in the household to really moderate and educate beforehand.
Joining in that call for more to be done, 42 attorneys general from both sides of the aisle across the U.S. In a letter to the Speaker of the House and the Senate majority and minority leaders, the National Association of Attorneys General writing in favor of the warning, saying, quote, by mandating a Surgeon General's warning on algorithm-driven social media platforms, Congress can help abate this growing crisis and protect future generations of Americans. Social media platforms have come under fire recently in Congress about the effects their products have on teens.
There's the content in the app, but then there's the experience of the user. And so I spent a lot of time asking, it's like, notice how you feel when you're on it.
Ishai Busi is a family therapist in Portland.
Yeah.
He says a warning label would help, but
people are going to walk right through it like a wet paper towel if they want to, you know. But if it can just contribute to having more conversations about this, to pausing and reflecting and just thinking for a moment in a way that maybe I wouldn't have thought about before.
Devin Haskins, KGW News.
We want to tell you about a Gresham firefighter who was seriously injured when he ran into a burning building. He is finally leaving the hospital after more than 3 months. Spencer Tejadas was hurt when he responded to a duplex fire in late May and entered the structure thinking a teenager was inside. He suffered severe burns on more than 45% of his body. He has endured and survived multiple surgeries on his long road to recovery. And this afternoon, dozens of firefighters cheered as Tejadas finally left the Oregon Burn Center.
Firefighters did what firefighters do. And sometimes that means you always know there's a risk. You're putting your life on the line, so to speak. He literally did.
He literally did. Tejadas is moving to rehab facilities for a few weeks before returning home to his wife and their 2 boys. An investigation determined the house fire was accidental and was sparked by an unattended candle.